a major event for the American psyche was '63, Kennedy being murdered, and the public not understanding what happened. Right? I mean, Oswald is said to be the shooter, and then he's shot down by this other guy, before he can even, speak publicly or go to trial. And so you have conspiracy theory really starting from that time period. The CIA simultaneously is co-opting that term and saying, well, we have to attack those that are questioning the Warren Commission, that are questioning our thesis that it was one lone nut. And so from that time period, you have conspiracy theory going into more of the subculture of America, the Birchers on the right, critical of, of the influence of, let's say, communism and socialism and that strain. Then you have on the left, you have the critics of the right wing, let's say, pro-military, fascist, the Nazis that are being brought over here from paperclip. So you have like critics from both left and right who are, saying there's conspiracy going on. And so, you look at 91 when My Father Makes JFK, which becomes a seminal Hollywood production, very rare, very unique in the sense of, actually being able to pull off a major movie that just is all conspiracy theory. So my father is, really brings it to the mainstream in many ways. He helped to bring conspiracy theory to the mainstream. And obviously, ever since then, we see this sort of battle between those elements that you can and can't talk about when it comes to conspiracy, right? Because at the end of the day, it's very difficult to know what is reality. The deep state is the entrenched, you could say, the entrenched elements within the government and the layered secret elements beneath that even. So the president is, for example, given a certain security clearance. He doesn't have the highest level security clearance. That's why it's very laughable. People talk about the president really running the country. The president is literally a CEO of a corporation who's brought in for 4 years or 8 years. He doesn't run the country. He basically is like, he's a symbolic representative of the executive branch of power, and he can have certain executive orders and things. But the country is fundamentally, it's much deeper even than the three branches that you see. There's all people talked about Area 51 and didn't even believe that for so long. Now we pretty much now we know it's out there that Area 51 exists, but how many other secretive underground bases, secretive elements within our structures that are unknown? When people talk about the Pentagon, losing multiple trillions of dollars over these years, it's not lost. These are going into black budget areas, projects that are unknown, classified beyond, what people can fathom. When people see spacecraft that they think are alien, I would argue a lot of those spacecraft, maybe not all, but a lot of them are very advanced technologies. The same way that if you had seen a stealth bomber in 1975 or 80, you would not have known what that was because it was classified, right? So the point is that we are dealing with a government within the government, as many people have talked about over the decades. And so even when it comes to conspiracy theory and lore, it's never the full truth. It's always, fragments of it. That's why the criticism of the Kennedy assassination, it's like both left and right can agree that there was a conspiracy to kill him, but we can't agree perfectly on who did it or the motivation, right? Even in the plaza itself, was the shooter in the gutter? Was he the driver? Was he behind the knoll? It's so difficult to understand, and that's kind of how this thing works. Is that it wants us to be baffled by the nature of power, right? It wants us to not understand. The same with 9/11, how do they take down these 3 buildings, right? And with these 2 planes, it's all a magic show, and it's all designed to keep you guessing and keep you kind of like, pointing fingers. Well, if you don't agree with me, you must be controlled opposition. It wants us to be at odds with each other. That's how it rules.